So good morning everyone. Good morning Taran, good morning Saksham, good morning Shalvi, everyone out there who is there in the class, everybody, a very good morning to all of you. So today we shall be discussing about the case of Baglekar Akash Kumar versus Google LLC. Now this is case number 39 of 2020 and this is about the Competition Commission of India, a quasi-judicial body regarding the disposal of cases relating to the Competition Act. On the bench was Mr. Ashok Kumar Gupta, chairperson, and Ms. Sangeeta Verma, member, Mr. Bhagwan Singh Bishnoi, who is also the member. Date of judgment is 29th January 2021. So this case is a bit technical, yet again a very technical case, because it relates to the Competition Act of 2002. And we shall be coming across certain provisions of the competition law regarding how far an entity which has a dominant position in the market can use its dominant position to its benefits, or to the extent of disadvantages to the other entities in the market. Okay, so Google, in the sense, like, we cannot imagine our life without Google today. This is such an integral part of our lives that without Google something hardly happens. And you know what is important is that it is so important that, in fact, when we emphasize or when we express our feelings to someone special in our lives, we usually use this phrase that a day without you is a day without internet. So internet and mobile phones and smartphones have become like the vital organs of our body. If we are forgetting our phones back in our homes, it is like we have forgotten a very important organ of our body. So this has become so integral to our lives that without Google we cannot imagine our lives today. And so the business the Google has, we have our email IDs on Gmails, we have Google Meet apps, we have Google search engine, like Google is everywhere. So basically we can realize the importance of the Google, or the dominant position of the Google it has in the market right now. Okay, now let us read the facts of the case. I hope you are able to listen to me carefully, and my video is also clear to you. Okay, so Google provides its users with a variety of online products and services. Gmail and Google's Meet app were the subject of the current case. It lets users to send and receive emails, direct messages and other types of messages through Gmail, as well as hold video conferences and meetings using the Meet app. Okay. So Google provides its users with a variety of online products and services. We have a range of products, like an array of products and services provided to us by Google. Okay, Gmail and Google Meet app. Gmail, like most of us would be using this Gmail ID, like most of us. Like most of us would be using Gmail, right? Am I right? Like most of us are having our email IDs on Gmail, right? So Google provides its users with a variety of online products and services. Gmail and Google Meet apps, like we were introduced to Google Meet app after everything went virtual, after everything became online. Okay, after the pandemic, after this pandemic was badly spreading and we were confined to our homes, so we immediately switched over to apps like Google Meet apps, like Zoom, and our classes, our meetings were held on Google Meet apps. And we are continuing with the usage of these apps still. Even after when we have resumed our physical work in offices, in courts, in classrooms, everywhere, still Google Meet apps is something that cannot be dispensed with. We are still going to continue with the usage of this, because many a times this is going to come to our rescue every time. No matter what, wherever you are, you can have a meeting scheduled on Google Meet app. That's it. So in the current case, Gmail and Google Meet app were the subject of the current case. It lets users to send and receive emails, direct messages and other types of messages through Gmail, as well as hold video conferences and meetings using the Meet app. Okay, so you must have understood the meaning of this paragraph, that Gmail lets its users to send and receive emails, direct messages and other types of messages through Gmail, as well as hold video conferences and meetings using the Meet app. Gmail and Meet app were connected by Google. The informant challenged this integration as an abuse of dominant position under the Competition Act of 2002. Because Gmail possessed a dominant position in the relevant market, the informant, a university student, claimed that Google utilized its dominant position in one relevant market to join another relevant market in violation of Section 4(2)(e) of the Act. Ankita, what are you trying to ask? Okay, LLC is Limited Liability Corporation. Yes, Mehul has answered you. Yes, Ankita, that's right. Okay, so Gmail and Meet app were connected by Google. Okay, now Gmail already has a dominant position in the market. Do you agree to this? Gmail already has a dominant position in the market, right? In the relevant market. Now the informant, a university student, claimed that Google utilized its dominant position in one relevant market to join another relevant market in violation of Section 4(2)(e) of the Act. Section 4(2)(e) of the Act means that if a company owns something and has a dominant position in one relevant field, the same company cannot use its dominant position to enter into another relevant field and occupy or monopolize the another market. Okay, now before we move ahead in the discussion, it is now pertinent for us to have a perusal of Section 4(2)(e) of the Act to at least get a bare understanding of what is meant by dominant position and how in this case dominant position was alleged to be misused by Google to join another relevant market in violation of the impugned section. Okay, now let us read them. Section 4(2) in the Competition Act of 2002. Section 4, subsection 2 says, there shall be an abuse of dominant position. Okay, now what is known as dominant position? Now let us read. Abuse of dominant position. What is a dominant position? No enterprise shall abuse its dominant position. This is what I am reading the section. This is Section 4 of Competition Act which I am reading. The title of the section is Abuse of Dominant Position. abuse of dominant position. 1. No enterprise shall abuse its dominant position. कोई भी enterprise market में अगर उसकी कोई dominant position है, वो अच्छी position पर है, वो अपनी position का गलत इस्तेमाल नहीं करेगा. No enterprise shall abuse its dominant position. Okay. 2. Subsection 2. There shall be an abuse of dominant position under subsection 1. अब dominant position का abuse किसको कहते हैं? Like what an enterprise can do to abuse its dominant position under subsection 1. This needs to be defined, right? That how, what steps leads to the abuse of dominant position. There shall be an abuse of dominant position under subsection 1 if an enterprise A directly or indirectly imposes unfair or discriminatory one condition in purchase or sale of goods or services. Like for example, if one particular entity or enterprise in a market, okay, imposes a condition directly or indirectly to make it like necessary for the people or binding them or binding the people to buy or purchase their or take their services or buy their products, you know, मजबूर कर देना लोगों को directly or indirectly imposes unfair or discriminatory condition in purchase or sale of goods or services, or price in purchase or sale including predatory price of goods or service, or limits or restricts production of goods or provision of services or markets therefore, or technical or scientific development relating to goods or services to the prejudice of consumers, or indulges in practice or practices resulting in denial of market access, or makes conclusion of contracts subject to acceptance by the other parties of supplementary obligations which by their nature or according to commercial usage have no connection with the subject of such contracts, or uses its dominant position in one relevant market to enter into or protect other relevant market. Explanation. Okay, like for example, dominant position means a position of strength enjoyed by an enterprise in the relevant market in India. Okay, now if for example this is the point that is in question here, we are specifically concerned with the violation of section 4(2)(e), subclause E of the act. Okay, Taran says, बात जज्बा तो तुमसे समझ नहीं आ रहा. Taran Kapoor says, when the enterprise adopts the policy of predatory pricing, which eventually ostracizes the competitors in the market. I guess you would better understand this, because Competition Act is something which has been recently introduced in the law schools, and it was not there in the central universities like mine. But still I am trying to explain you in the best possible manner. Baat jazba to tum and everybody else who has not understood, please listen to me now very carefully. I am decoding these jargons and trying to put them into simpler terms. Like it can't be simpler than this. And it's a layman language now which I am going to use. What are the two relevant markets talked here? Naman, I'm going to answer your question. Just wait for a while. Listen to me now very carefully. There is an enterprise which has a very good position in the market. Okay? There is an enterprise which has a very good position in the market. Like there's no other enterprise. There are other players in the market also. It's not that there are no other players in the market. There are other players in the market also. But for example, like in the given case, Google, it's not difficult to believe that Google has a dominant position in the market. Like everybody else today uses Gmail. Everybody else uses today Google as a search engine. Okay, every single person dwells upon Google for something or the other today. That means, don't you have a Yahoo as a search engine? Don't we have a Rediff Mail as a search engine? Don't we have Rediff Mail email services? Don't we have Yahoo Mail services? We all have, but Google enjoys a dominant position. No other player in the market is resorted to by the consumers in the market the way Google is done. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. That is a dominant position. That is a dominant position, means the enterprise enjoys a dominant position. Okay. Now this Competition Act of 2002 restricts or prohibits the abuse of dominant position to do anything which is derogatory to the interest of the consumers, or it is disadvantageous for the other players in the market. Now I'm trying to read the statements. Ankita says, you want to say, sir, Google trying to acquire a dominant position by way of Google Meet. No, Ankita. Mehul, such practices will establish misuse just when received by an endeavor getting a charge out of a prevailing situation in the pertinent market in India. See, that's not the case. Now, let me explain. You see, that's what I'm trying to do. Please listen to me very carefully. Dominant position आप समझ क्यों नहीं रहे हैं? Market में अच्छी position होना is dominant position भाई. Every other person is using Google today. We don't even think of using other services. Most of us. We have Google as a primary search engine. We have Gmail as the first and primary source of services for receiving and sending emails. Taran is trying to explain baat jazbaat ko. Predatory pricing is the method in which a player in the market reduces the cost so much that it becomes a daunting task for other competitors to survive. That's what I'm trying. Please allow me to complete now. Stop commenting, please, for a while. Please allow me now. I mean, everybody else is so intrigued to get into this case. So much so that you are not allowing me to complete my point. See, dominant position is a very easy thing to be understood, and very easily. How? Google, it is not difficult to understand and comprehend the fact that Google has a dominant position in the market. Okay. Now, if, for example, Competition Act restricts and prohibits certain practices to be adopted by an enterprise which acquires or possesses a dominant position in the market. Like, for example, if Google, we cannot imagine our lives without Google today. If Google imposes a condition and, stipulates a condition, for example, which is like binding the consumers to pay something, then the consumers will have to pay something for it. Okay, will have to pay something for it. No matter how much does it cost to them, but they will have to, because they want to survive. It is a mandatory for their survival in the market to fulfill the conditions stipulated by Google. Okay, now limits or restricts, that means if also an enterprise which acquires a dominant position in the market acts to the disadvantages of the other players in the market, that is also restricted by the Competition Act. Okay. Now this, for example, if you own an enterprise and you have a dominant position in the market, you want to enter every other relevant field. So Google exactly did the same thing. that under section 4 subsection 2 clause E, Google, it was alleged, it is said that if an enterprise uses its dominant position in one relevant market to enter into or protect other relevant market, okay, for example, like the way Google did, Google has a dominant position. Google has a dominant position in one relevant field, like it has email services for sending and receiving the emails. Now using that position, Google was trying to enter into another relevant field by developing the Google Meet app. Because through your email, which is always logged in your mobile phones, you have your emails always 24/7 logged in. You keep yourself logged in 24/7 in your mobile phones, right? And through that email, you can use Google Meet app. Whenever you use Google Meet app, you enter or you use Google Meet app through your emails, through your Gmail IDs, right? Through your Gmail IDs. So using one dominant position, the Gmail or the Google was trying to enter into another relevant field. And this is what the allegation was, that the Google was misusing its dominant position to enter into another relevant market. Exactly, Prableen. Very good observation. Very good observation. When Reliance Jio abused its dominant position in the market by selling its services at a price which disturbed the competition in the market. You know, many enterprises today, they misuse their dominant position to, you know, sometimes they misuse their position to enter into other relevant fields. Or when they come into dominant position, when they, you know, win the confidence of the consumers, they try to stipulate condition. They try to stipulate a condition which unnecessarily binds the consumers to, you know, pay something for it, or which is derogatory to the interest, or which is disadvantageous to the position of other players in the market. Okay. This was like when Google started the Google Meet app. It was alleged by the informant in this case that Google is trying to misuse its dominant position to enter into another relevant field, which is in violation of section 4 subsection 2 clause E of the Competition Act. Are you getting my point? I hope you have understood. Now Ankita says it means Gmail and Google Meet are two relevant markets here Google established. Exactly. Yes. So Naman, what was your comment? What was your question earlier? What are the two relevant markets talked here? So Naman, I guess you must have understood. You must have understood, right? Okay. Now what are the issues? What were the relevant markets in the instant case? Now the Competition Commission of India was tasked with the mooting of these questions and deciphering what are the relevant markets talked about here. Okay. What were the relevant markets in the instant case? Viz, the relevant market in which the Google was alleged to hold a dominant position, that is the primary relevant market, and the relevant market which it sought to enter. Okay. So what were the relevant markets in the instant case? So it was important for the Competition Commission of India to decipher what were the relevant markets. The relevant market in which the Google was alleged to hold a dominant position, that is the primary relevant market, and the relevant market which it sought to enter. Whether Gmail was in a dominant position in the former relevant market, that was also important. First of all, you have to decipher the two relevant markets. Naman's question was very genuine here when he asked me what are the two relevant markets talked about here. In fact, the Competition Commission of India at the very first step tried to decipher what are the two relevant markets. One is that the Google holds in the field of emails. The other is a Google Meet app. These are the two relevant markets talked about here. Okay. Now, whether these two things actually form two different relevant markets or not. So the first thing which was to be deciphered and to be to come out with was to find out the two different relevant markets. Okay. Next important issue was to be that was to be mooted upon was if it has been alleged that Google has abused its dominant position, then before this it is also necessary to establish that Google is actually in a dominant position. Unless and until it is not proved that Google is in a dominant position in the former relevant market, the abuse of such dominant position cannot be alleged. Okay. Cannot be alleged. So it is important to first of all establish that Google is in a dominant position. Are you getting my point? And then once it is established that Google, and once it has been finally found out or deciphered or established that Google is in a dominant position in the former relevant market, then the next question is that whether the act of integration of Gmail and Google Meet app by Google amounted to an abuse of dominant position. Amounted to an abuse of dominant position. Right? Now, have you understood the issues? Right? I guess every one of you have understood. First of all, it is important before mooting upon this question whether this integration has amounted to an abuse of dominant position or not. The two questions before that need to be mooted upon, need to be decided are what are the two relevant markets and whether Google enjoys a dominant position or not, because the question of its misuse comes only after it is established that Google is actually in a dominant position in the former relevant market, and then whether the act of integration of Gmail and Meet app by Google amounted to an abuse of dominant position. So these are important things. Okay, these are important issues. Now, what are the laws applied? Section 4 of the Competition Act. We have already gone through the section 4 of the Competition Act, and let me explain you again in a nutshell that section 4 of the Competition Act talks about the abuse of the dominant position. Abuse of the dominant position means that no enterprise shall abuse its dominant position. It is about that how an enterprise can misuse its dominant position. Okay, it is about how an enterprise can misuse its dominant position. Okay. Now next comes is section 26 subsection 2 of the Competition Act. What is section 26? Procedure for inquiry on complaints under section 19. Now what is section 19? It's also there, section 19(1)(a) of the Competition Act. Section 19(1)(a) of the Competition Act. Let us first read section 19(1)(a) of the Competition Act. The Commission may inquire into any alleged contravention of the provisions contained in subsection 1 of section 3 or subsection 1 of section 4, either on its own motion or on receipt of a complaint accompanied by such fee as may be determined by regulations from any person, consumer, or their association or trade association, or a reference made to it by the central government or a state government or a statutory authority. Section 19 simply empowers the Competition Commission of India to inquire or to make an inquiry into any allegation of contravention of the provisions of this law, okay, especially any complaint in contravention of section 4 of Competition Act. Okay, if you, me, or any other person has filed a complaint before the Competition Commission of India that a particular entity or enterprise has misused its dominant position to do anything, whatever has been laid down under section 4, the Commission is authorized under section 19 of the Competition Act to inquire into such allegation, okay, either on its own motion. That means the Competition Commission of India is also empowered to initiate an inquiry suo motu, or if any complaint has been made by anyone on a fee which has been determined by a regulation, okay, or if a particular central government or a state government or a statutory authority is making a reference to the Competition Commission of India that particular enterprise is misusing its dominant position. Okay, understood section 19? Have you understood section 19 or not? Have you understood section 19? Naman has understood, Prablin has understood, everybody else has understood, I guess. Mehul. Okay. Now, सेक्शन 19 में अगर सीसीआई के पास, कंपटीशन कमीशन के पास अथॉरिटी है कि वो इंक्वायरी करे, ठीक है, तो अब सेक्शन 26 में आ जाते हैं. What should be the procedure for inquiry on complaints under section 19? Section 19 is simply about the authority. Section 19 is simply about the authority of the Competition Commission of India, and section 26 is about the procedure to be adopted for inquiry on complaints under section 19. Now what is there under section 26? Here we are specifically talking about section 26 clause 2, but let me also read subsection 1. Procedure for inquiry on complaints under section 19. This is the title of the caption of the section. This is the heading of the section. Procedure for inquiry on complaints under section 19. On receipt of a complaint or a reference from the central government or a state government or a statutory authority, or on its own knowledge or information under section 19, if the commission is of the opinion that there exists a prima facie case, it shall direct the Director General to cause an investigation to be made into the matter. Okay? On a receipt of a complaint or a reference from the central government or a state government or a statutory authority, or on its own knowledge or information under section 19, if the commission is of the opinion that there exists a prima facie case, it shall direct the Director General to cause an investigation to be made into the matter. This is very simple. That since Competition Commission has the authority under section 19 to proceed with an inquiry, the procedure for such an inquiry is laid down under section 26, and subsection 1 of section 26 simply says that whatever the case may be, if the reference was made to it by the central government or a state government, or any complaint was filed by any other individual, or on its own knowledge or information when it is taking the cognizance of anything so moto under section 19, if the commission finds out that a prima facie case is actually made out against a particular enterprise, then it can direct the Director General to cause an investigation to be made into the matter. Subsection 2, which is specifically mentioned here in this case, is the Director General shall, on receipt of direction under subsection 1, submit a report on his findings within such period as may be specified by the Commission. The Commission will specify particularly a period that the Director General has to investigate into the matter, and he has to submit his report within the stipulated period. So the Director General shall, on receipt of direction under subsection 1, submit a report on his findings within such period as may be specified by the Commission. The Director General shall, on receipt of direction under subsection 1, submit a report on his findings within such period as may be specified by the Commission. Okay, understood? Have you understood this? Okay, so we have made a bare perusal of all the laws applied here, like section 4 of the Competition Act, section 4(2)(e) of the Competition Act, section 19(1)(a) of the Competition Act, and section 26(2) of the Competition Act. Now let's proceed with the contentions made by the informant. The informant who informed, like the person who informs the Competition Commission of India, like who alleges it as the informant, okay, who brings to the knowledge or who informs the Competition Commission of India that a particular enterprise has misused its dominant position. So that is a contention made by the informant. In the market for internet connected service and products, Google held a commanding dominance. In the market for internet connected service and products, Google held a commanding dominance. It was taking use of its dominant position in the aforementioned area to expand into a new market through Meet app. Now basically what happened, the contentions made by the informant are very briefly written here. They say, the informant alleges that or contends that Google has a market for internet connected service and products. And it has a commanding dominance. There is no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it, and there is no doubt and there is no difficulty in believing this fact that Google has a commanding dominance in the market. Google does have a commanding dominance in the market in the internet connected service and products. Isn't it? You all must be agreeing with the informant and me here, I guess. Right? And the Google is trying to misuse its dominant position in the aforementioned area to expand into a new market through Meet app. Now, since the entire world went virtual suddenly, after the world plunged into a pandemic and there was a complete halt of physical activities around the world, the whole world suddenly switched over to the internet services and different application softwares to be different. Ankita disagrees with the petitioner. Okay, you have all the liberty to disagree. Okay, then this Meet app, this Google Meet app, you know, the whole world suddenly switched over to different application softwares for holding meetings, or for connecting people, or for conducting online classes, right? For conducting online classes. So the informant was trying to say that Google already has a dominant position in the internet connected services and products, and it has a commanding position. Now it is trying to enter into another relevant field, which is like the application softwares for conducting different meetings. So this should not be done. Google is unnecessarily doing this. So contentions made by the respondents. Now the respondents, what the Google had to say as a respondent. Google claimed that the information provided by the informant was unfounded and based solely on conjectures, speculation, and fear. Okay, Google said that the informant was unfounded, the information was unfounded, and you are trying to, carve out unnecessary theories, apprehensions, speculations, and fear, because you fear that other application softwares which have been especially designed for conducting online meetings and conducting online congregations would not survive if Google Meet happens to enter the market. So these are just apprehensions, conjectures, speculations, and fear, and nothing else. So your information is completely unfounded and is based solely on conjectures, speculation, and fear, and nothing else. Furthermore, the informant had to show that there was a prima facie case that warranted the director investigation. Like, that's what we have read under section 26 subsection 2, that the director general would intrude or would intervene only when there is a prima facie case made out in any allegation. So the Google was trying to put the entire burden on the shoulders of the informant, that you have to make the Competition Commission believe that there is a prima facie case, so that the Competition Commission may be prompted to proceed with the director investigation in this case. Okay, and the informer's locus standi was contested by the opposing party. Locus standi, what is locus standi? That you have an authority to file a case. Then the Google questioned that in what capacity this informant, in what capacity this informant has contested the opposing party. So furthermore, the informant had to show that there was a prima facie case that warranted the Director General's investigation, and the informant also has to prove his locus standi, that in what capacity, like what he has to do with Google, and is he another player in the market? Who is he? Like in what capacity he has filed this application? Okay. Then Google stated the following arguments in response to the charge of misuse of a dominating position leveled against it. Google did not have a dominant position in the market for internet related services and products because there is no such sector. Google said that there is no such sector. We don't have a dominant position. Google was trying to disprove this fact that it has a dominant position. Google did not have a dominant position for internet related services and products because there is no such sector. Internet is not designated as a sector. Like we have the oil and gas sector, we have the service sector, we have this sector, we have that sector. You cannot categorize internet related things into a particular sector. Internet is in just overall services. So when internet related services and products cannot be categorized into one sector, you cannot claim, or the Google cannot claim to have a dominant position in one relevant sector. So it could hardly be claimed to be in a dominant position in such a market if one exists. It was not dominating in India's emailing and direct messaging industry due to the presence of competitors with similar or higher market positions. Google said that we are not the only ones who are involved in emailing and direct messaging industry. There are other players also. There are Rediff Mail, there are Yahoo Mail, there is Hotmail, there's so many things, so many other players in the market, and they have similar or higher market positions. Like we recently have the Zoho Mail. The Zoho Mail revenues have reached such so high in just a few days. So there are other competitors in the market. We are not the only ones who are doing it or involved in it. So we can't claim to have a dominating position in this sector. First of all, internet does not amount to any particular sector. And secondly, even if it does, we do not have a dominant position because there are other competitors with similar or higher market positions. Are you trying to understand the contentions of the respondent here? The integration was made to help Gmail users. Okay, now the Google was trying to justify that why Google Meet app was developed, because a major portion of the people have been using Gmail, and it was very easy for the people, for the Gmail users to install the Google Meet app and use it because it was very easy to log in into the Google Meet app directly through your phones, because your Gmail is always logged in 24/7 in your smartphones. So it was for a better services for the Gmail users. The restriction of such functionality additions such as Meet app would be harmful to customers. The integration was established in response to the competition provided by competitors like Facebook and Microsoft. Okay, so you must have understood the respondents' arguments. Any problem up till here? Any problem up till here? Understood. Okay. Now let us come to the decision of the Competition Commission of India. The Competition Commission of India stated that in the arguments, Google stated that Gmail does not have a dominant position in emailing and direct messaging in India, and that it is up against a slew of messaging services, many of which are on par with or better than Gmail. Okay, so the Competition Commission of India stated that Google does not have a dominant position because there are other players in the market and which are at par or in fact better than Gmail. The Competition Commission of India was of the opinion, Damini and Abhimanyu, you have not understood? Not understood, Damini and Abhimanyu? Why are you commenting no, sir? Please tell me, Damini, Abhimanyu, Taran, what is your problem? What have you not understood? Okay. Okay. Sorry, Damini and Abhimanyu. I thought you must be having a doubt. So the Competition Commission of India was of the opinion that regardless of whether Gmail is a dominant app in the relevant market of providing email services in India or not, Google's conduct did not violate the provisions of Section 42E of the Act because the informant did not place any substantive material on record in support of the assertions made. So now the decision is very easy to be understood and to be comprehended on a bare reading, that Competition Commission of India first of all negated or refuted the fact that Google does not have a dominant position because there are other players in the market which are at par with the Google Mail or better than Gmail services. Then secondly, even if we buy this argument that Google has a dominant position in the email services sector, then Google did not violate the provisions of Section 42E of the Act because the informant did not place on record any substantive material. He was just apprehending. His information was simply based on conjectures, on apprehensions, on fear and nothing else. There was no material or substantive thing to prove that Google is violating or misusing its dominant position to oust the other players in the market. Right? The arguments stated by Competition Commission of India was that Gmail users were not obligated to use Google Meet. And it was not compulsory. I am having a Gmail ID, and you all must be having a Gmail ID today. But we were never, compelled to use Google Meet app. In most of the cases, we used Zoom app. So the Gmail users, it was an option for them to either to use it or not to use it. They were not obligated to use Google Meet, and there were no negative consequences for refusing to use Google Meet. And it did not amount to, like, Google never said that if you are not going to use Google Meet app, we will block your Gmail account. Google never said that. Google never said that. So there was nothing that obligated the Gmail users to use Google Meet. There were no negative consequences. There were no negative consequences for refusing to use Google Meet, such as the removal of Gmail or any of its functions or the other Google services currently available. So any of the competing video conferencing apps can be used by a Gmail user at their free will. You can use Zoom, you can use WebEx, you can use any other thing. You are not obligated to use Google Meet app. Like in most of the cases, I used Zoom, I used WebEx, but I hardly used Google Meet app. I did use it, but I was not obligated to use it. Right? So you would have understood this Competition Commission of India. Now, if you have any doubt, any question, please, you are most welcome to ask, and please do it fast because I have two very important announcements for you today. Yes, Ankita. It's all clear to you? Okay, so the announcement number one is that tomorrow, it's Sunday, but I shall be taking your class at this time only at 11 a.m. This is the class which was left on Wednesday because I was on leave. So in place of Wednesday, I'm going to take it tomorrow on Sunday instead. First announcement. Okay. Second announcement is that from Monday onwards, I shall be teaching you the environmental law on the portal. I shall be taking your class on the portal and not on YouTube. Okay. The environmental law class will take place at this point, at this timing only, at 11 a.m. on the portal, not on the YouTube. I shall be teaching you environmental law from Monday onwards on the portal at 11 a.m. only. The timings will remain the same. Okay. Ananya is asking for how many days. Like, I have designed the syllabus for 12 to 13 lectures, and I can extend it up to 14 or 15, but not more than that. Okay, I'll try to wrap it up as fast as possible. As fast as possible, okay? First announcement, Saksham, is that I am going to take your class tomorrow also on Sunday, because I was on leave on Wednesday and that class is supposed to take place tomorrow. Okay? As fast as possible, okay? Gauthaman is asking legislations and judgment class will resume after we complete environmental law. Okay? Any other problem? Any question, any doubt regarding the announcements or this case? Okay, then we shall meet tomorrow with another case, perhaps the last class before we start our environmental law classes on the YouTube. Okay, so we shall meet tomorrow. Okay, thank you. So I'm signing off. Till then, bye bye.